Thank you. Will the committee please come back to order? Last we met, we recessed, so we are reconvening. At this point in time, we have two amendments before us before we complete our business. And I'd like to take up 1783S first.
What is that?
This is the Rosenwald Geider.
Is what?
This is the Rosenwald Geider amendment.
Oh.
It was handed out this morning.
I'd like to move it, please.
Senator Rosenwald moves 1783S, as seconded by Senator Geider. And I'll look to the LBA or the sponsor of the amendment to give an explanation.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the closed loop referral systems are a way of making sure that there's, the term of art is a warm handoff between one provider and another. And more specifically, if someone seeks help from a social service agency, for example, one of the doorways, which are scattered around the state, and they are referred from that agency to another kind of social service agency, like a food pantry or housing assistance or CAP program, the closed loop system ensures that the referral is made, picked up, and an appointment is made. So it's closing the loop on those referrals. This amendment makes 3 policy changes to the House approved language in House Bill 2 about one specific contract, which is with a company called Unite Us. And it's a contract that they have with the Doorway program, the IDN network that was created by the 1115 waiver. Those 3 changes are: 1, the Department of Health and Human Services will not be able to get identifiable data on any individual for whom it is not providing services. All of the agencies we're talking about are private. But if the department were providing services to anyone, it would already have that information and know who the person was, their address, their age. All of that is protected health information: your name, your age, your address, your birth date, that sort of thing. The second thing it does is require that if there is a data breach, and that's defined in federal law, that within 48 hours of determining a breach, the contractor, Unite Us or Unite USA Inc., shall begin the process of notifying the individuals who are affected by that data breach. And the third thing it does is ensure that every referral, the individual has the opportunity to opt into the system. It's an affirmative opt-in, but they also retain the rights to always opt out of the system. So this takes the House language, which was specific to one contract and required HHS oversight to evaluate this program. And then it puts 3 pieces of public policy that I hope we can agree on into the language. So it's just, it starts on line 19 through the end of this paragraph. That is the added language. The rest of it was already there.
Thank you, Senator Rosenwald. Further discussion? Senator Geider.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a problem with this amendment as I was just handed to it. And the problem is this, that it gives the Oversight Committee, HHS Oversight, 30 days. They come back with recommendations. There's no way for the legislature to implement them before CMS moves forward. I also have deep concerns about the accuracy of the commissioner's letter. There has never been a requirement, and there's no federal rule that shows a requirement for a closed loop system, period. Our last 30 waivers have been done without a closed loop system. If we put in our legislation that we're going to do it, you'll see an $8 million request and further advancement of this process without the protections of privacy that the legislature can and must afford our citizens. So I would propose amending this, again, it was just handed to me, to require legislative approval of any measures brought forth by the Oversight Committee, which would require pushing the date back past 30 days, okay, to perhaps November 1 for future pending legislation. That gives us the time we need to look this thing over carefully because, for example, the concerns are that a person falls on hard times, has psychological problems, goes somewhere to a clinic, and that is now in the record, okay? The ability to provide care is important, but as passed by the constitutional amendment 2 years ago, the vast majority of our citizens consider their privacy. And while there are protections here, there is not the protection that the legislature should afford by giving us the time at HHS Oversight, on which I sit, okay, to look this over. Jess Edwards is looking at it. I know Mark Pearson, the chair, is looking at it. I would ask that we amend this to say November 1st, the Oversight Committee will report back. The legislature may take any appropriate action at that time. That means that the legislature gets to drive the privacy issue, not the commissioner or the executive branch or HHS. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I have a question for the member.
Senator Hennessy.
Thank you. Senator Geider, can you tell me, just looking at 19 through 25, I think it puts a lot of the privacy concerns that were discussed yesterday into HB2. So it's kind of like double measure, double privacy, or double look at this, where it says the department can't do this, Unite USA has to do this, and HHS Oversight Committee will be looking at it. So are you happy with the language from 19 through 25? And I might also add that I'm confident that whatever the Health and Human Services Oversight Committee would do would be to the best interest of our citizens for security reasons and privacy reasons, because you and Senator Rosenwald both sit on that committee.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Oversight Committee will not be able to bring forth legislation before the CMS waiver is approved or in time to get it into the CMS waiver language or prevent it from being in the CMS waiver language. So while I'm in agreement with that, okay, the totality of the bill still enables DHS to move forward and to implement the closed loop system in part, which then goes into the CMS waiver and is now a permanent part, and we're off to the races without the legislature having the ability to listen to the recommendations from OHHS Oversight.
Follow up.
Follow up.
So we know that we'll have a veto day sometime in early fall. Would the Oversight Committee be able to have a recommendation to the legislature by that point?
Parliamentarily, I'm not sure we can address anything other than vetoed bills, and the governor is not going to veto this. The governor put this contract through, okay.
So I have a question for Senator Geider. Have you talked to Senator Rosenwald about your amendment?
I just was handed this literally 10 minutes ago when I walked in. I'd be happy to have that conversation.
So, no, that's okay. I'll just ask
Well,
Senator Rosenwald.
What I think that I heard Senator Geider say is that he'd like to change the date on line 17 to November 1st. And I would be okay with that. it gives HHS oversight more time, gives us time to, if we were going to file legislation, it does give us time.
Okay, and I would also ask, Senator, if we would state that no further progress can be made until the HHS oversight has reported back to the legislature. And the concern is the privacy issue. It's not the closed loop system, which is a good advance. But frankly, HHS's behaviors with respect to privileged information under PDMP colors my opinion. And so I think we really need to put a stop to this until the HHS Oversight Committee gets back with a report. And then we can enable the legislation that might flow, and then we can let this process move forward. In other words, the train will have already left the station.
Well, I think the way this is written, it prevents any other expansion of a closed loop system outside of this one specific contract. This one specific contract is, as I understand it, from not only from the department, but from providers who have been working on the IDN, the doorways waiver, and from other health law experts in New Hampshire, that is already a major part of the IDN waiver. I don't believe that we could, or I mean, I guess we can do anything we want, but I don't personally believe we should try to halt this specific contract because I think it will interfere with the progress of the doorways. And we're in the last year of that waiver. If we're talking about any future contracts, yes, I'm okay with stopping it until the legislature acts. But the way I read this language, maybe I'm the only person who reads it this way, is that it's only about this one contract, which is the only contract that has been awarded. We may not like the process by which it was awarded, but it was 8 months ago. And a lot of work has been done on this. I don't want to risk federal funds. So I'd be okay with November 1st on line 17. And I would be okay with language that said no other contracts until the legislature acts, but I don't think we can stop this one.
Senator Geider?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, the intention is not to stop it because it's already in force. The intention is to ensure that there are privacy protections that HHS oversight will take a deep dive into. And the issue is one of timing. So November 1st is okay, but what we can't do is allow HHS access to any private data. Because there will be
okay.
private data from social services, which is not HIPAA protected, as opposed to medical services, which is. I mean, there's a lot of intricacies to this, and that's why the request for the November 1, but also those patients can still get services. This is not stopping anyone. This is saying, whoa, wait a minute, we want to take a real close look at the privacy issues here, and it's not going to cause harm to allow us another 3 or 4 months to look at this and do a really good deep dive.
So
Senator Rosenwald?
if we pass this amendment and it gets signed, it will require the department to renegotiate the contract to put these 3 privacy and security protections into law now. While allowing the project to move forward, it would require the contract to be amended because state law would have changed. That's why I think we must put these 3 protections into state law so that we force the department and the vendor to change that specific contract in these 3 ways.
Senator Geider?
Right, I would still argue that the access to individual data by DHHS is not a requirement. And once we open that door, as is delivered through lines 20, 21, the horse is out of the barn. I spoke with John Williams and Melissa St. Cyr yesterday, and their assertion is that they need to have individualized identifiable data for purposes of billing and tracking. That data can be de-identified. There are multiple systems by which an individual data stream can be used without identifying the individual. That is nowhere in this amendment. And so again, I think once we let the horse out of the barn, it's out of the barn, it goes into the contract, and then it's a requirement, okay, for the HHS to have access. There's no problem with the contractors or with the providers having access. It's the HHS access to individual data, which is not necessary, has never been in a waiver of the last 30 that we've done. And I don't think we're ready for this yet. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we have a motion before us. I think what I'm going to do is we will vote on the addition of the three parts from line 19 through the end of the amendment, and then it'll be open for further amendment if somebody wishes to amend dates and things like that. Senator Morse?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I want everyone in the Senate Finance to understand where this started, because this wasn't in the House's budget until I got involved. And I did it from the same reason that Senator Geider is talking about, that we need to put protections in here, and we need to start talking about privacy. I agree with starting with the House's position as the place we should be. I agree that the three amendments should be added to it, or the 3 points we discussed. And beyond that, the date change seems logical, and so doesn't having a little bit more language in here. But I think we have to get to a point where we're improving the House's language, because that started with us. And we're building something a little bit stronger. Are we going to get everything that I think Senator Geider and I believe need to be in here? The answer to that question is no. Because I think there's too many unanswered questions out there that we're going to have to come back in January and work on. But the reality of getting to this point was the Senate. Because I think we all went to meetings and listened to people, and there's been nobody paying attention to privacy since Neil Kirk left. And, you know, that's all the guy ever did with finance, was pay attention to privacy. And well, it's not all he did. He was great at finance. But, you know, I learned a lot. But I don't, whatever we have to do to take this amendment and do something better than the House did, that's where we need to get today. And Bob, I'm willing to compromise somewhat. I agree with you 100%, but I don't think I'm going to get to my place. Not without making everybody else vote in the different direction. And I don't think that's a good idea, because I'm not sure what the House would think. So anyhow, I think this is a good start. I think we need to change the date. And I think we agree on something else beyond that, which if Cindy and Bob could tell us what that is, I think we could be done with this one.
Question. Jeb, you might know, when is the waiver due to be submitted? Is Jonah Felstead might, no, no.
I just want to say, I think we're talking about two different waivers here. The waiver that Senator Geider is talking about is the Imd waiver, which is for a new private psychiatric hospital with more than 15 beds. That's a totally different scenario. This is only about the IDN waiver, which has been in place for 4 years.
All right, and isn't that coming up for renewal?
I don't know if, I don't know if it's going to get renewed or not.
All right, so
I sort of thought it wasn't, but
I'll go along with Senator Morse. We need to move this forward. I will probably be bringing in a subsequent amendment for consideration. But for now, we need to get this down the road. And I'm willing to make that happen.
So is there a friendly amendment to add in, change the 30 days to November 1st and with the legislative approval language?
That would be a friendly amendment.
yes,
Okay, excellent. Any further discussion?
haven't we had enough?
What's that?
Haven't we had enough?
I think we've had enough. We'll call roll. Senator Morse.
Yes.
Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator Susie.
Yes.
Senator Geider.
Yes,
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion carries 6-0. The chair will also state that Senator Reagan is excused in this morning's session.
Megan has now. So, Chair Daniels, can I just ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
November 1st of 2021? Okay.
Okay, then the other item that we have left is Amendment 1770S. This is the ones Senator Rosenwald had requested time yesterday to be able to read it.
Oh, is this the divisive
This is the
concept?
discrimination bill.
Yes, thank you. I did read it. And unfortunately, I think it's still as harmful as the original in that it aims to ban critical concepts like implicit bias that are central to diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings used for public employees, New Hampshire law enforcement, K through 12 schools, universities, state and local agencies. These are important to them because they want to create equitable, inclusive workplaces and communities. However, the amendment that was introduced yesterday, I feel is still an attack on those concepts, but even concerningly now singles out schools. And for schools, this is an attack on local parents and communities to come together to address difficult topics. I was a college graduate when I first learned about the interning of Japanese Americans during World War II. That is shocking to me, but I was an adult. I think I was married when I even learned that that existed. And it wasn't that recently. It actually fell in between historical context and current events. So it was, we're talking 30 years later. And I didn't learn that in high school or college. And I'm uncomfortable with this language because I think it will rob young people of a more inclusive education and possibly impose an alternate version of history, one that perhaps they have lived if they're people of color or Asian Americans, women and girls, LGBTQ+. I don't think it's our role to start censoring local school districts. The biggest school districts in the state are opposed to moving forward this. And I think we should trust local families and school boards rather than try to prohibit free speech and institute a gag rule. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Hennessy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with everything that Senator Rosenwald just said, except for that on page 4 of this amendment, lines 9 through 11, nothing in this section shall be construed to prohibit discussing as part of a larger course of academic instruction, the historical existence of ideas and subject identified in the section. So it specifically says that nothing disallows teachers from bringing up what has happened in the past so our kids can learn from all of the mistakes that humankind has made in the past. And so I think it addresses that concern.
Thank you. Further discussion. Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. That's exactly my point, that not all of this is in the past. When I was learning about the interning of Asian Americans, it wasn't really in the past. It was, but it wasn't ancient history. I believe that history is always with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, Senator Susie.
I too have concerns about the amendment, and in fact, I think more of the language is ambiguous than existed before. There are conflicts with the existing code of conduct. This would appear to supersede the code of conduct that exists for teachers. That's a process currently in place. This is saying it shall be determined a violation. I think we are going to be creating a situation where our Human Rights Commission, which we are always trying to make sure is not overwhelmed, is going to be overwhelmed because the language is certainly not clear about complaints and how things are going to move forward. This, not to mention, as Senator Rosenwald said, the fact that we just passed a bill with the LEAC recommendations, which included training about implicit bias and a lack of understanding to raise consciousness of people in law enforcement. We might not even be able to do that training anymore with the passage of this. I think there are even more problems, and for those reasons, I would vote against the amendment.
Okay, thank you. Senator Geider.
I would hearken to the comments of the senator from Littleton. There's nothing in this bill that stops teaching of fact. This bill is designed to ensure that facts are brought forward, not to prevent bringing them forward. It's designed to reveal the totality of history. It is designed to prevent a bias, either one way or another, and to ensure that the minds of the future generations of our state, okay, are not being unduly influenced by advocacy for such toxins as critical race theory. This is an exceptionally well-drafted bill that I think covers all the bases, and I will strongly support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Is there a motion regarding Amendment 1770S?
Move on to pass.
Senator Morse moves on to pass. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Hennessy. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call roll. Senator Morse,
Yes.
Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator Susie.
No,
Senator Geider.
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald.
No.
And the chair votes yes. Motion carries 4-2.
Chairman?
Senator Morse.
Have two things that I want to bring up on the adjusting the budget. One is Senator Rosenwald came to me about homelessness and housing. Not that I have a better solution, but I think the budget presents something that could be a little bit more beneficial housing wise. And Josh, if you could hand out the amendment we already voted on. So if you remember, we put $25 million into housing, affordable housing in New Hampshire as part of the budget already. And then in 22 and 23, we delayed the transfer, which was a new program we had set up in the budget to transfer $5 million a year to affordable housing. We suspended that. I would like to, on the amendment 1621S, item number 1, I would like to reverse our decision on that, and that would put 10 more million into housing.
Seconded.
Senator Morse moves to reverse item number 1 on Amendment 1621S, as seconded by Senator Geider. Any discussion, questions? Senator Rosenwald?
Thank you. I support doing this. I think it's great for affordable housing. I don't think it's going to address the homeless service contract problem,
Thank you. Further,
but I'm going to vote for it.
thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call roll on that motion. Senator Morse,
Yes.
Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator Susie.
Yes.
Senator Geider,
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. And that motion carries 6-0. Senator Morse.
There's only one other thing that I'd like to do to the budget at this point, until we get solid numbers, but I'd like to instruct LBA to use the governor's lapse estimate. The House increased their estimates, it's been done before, in order to spend. I would go with the governor's estimate. There's a $10 million difference. But I think the Senate's position would make much more sense.
And so Senator Morse is moving that we adopt the governor's estimates on lapses. That's seconded by Senator Hennessy. Discussion? Seeing none. Senator Morse?
Yes.
Senator Hennessy?
Yes.
Senator Susie?
Yes.
Senator Geider?
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, and the motion carries.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Senator Geider.
On 1621, with the transfer of real property, we amended part of it. Do we need to pass the amended amendment? Or
No,
it's just?
I think we just reversed our decision that we already voted for on one. That's all we've done.
So there's no further parliamentary
I
requirement.
don't
Thank you.
think
Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. I'd like to move amendment 1322S.
Chair, can I get a copy of that?
Yeah, I'm
It was in our packet from
Mhm.
yesterday.
Yesterday's package.
322S.
Yes, 1322S.
Okay. Senator Rosenwald is moving. Yes, Senator Morse is on the screen. Senator Rosenwald is moving amendment 1322S. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Susie.
Thank you.
Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. This was Senate Bill 118, Senator D'Alessandro's property tax relief bill. And it appropriates $40 million over the next 2 years, but importantly directs that a minimum of 60% of that money be put to lower taxes on the municipal side. The Senate voted for it, laid it on the table, and I hope we will include it in the budget. Thank you.
And for clarifications for those who are looking at it, it was on day before yesterday's. Thank you,
Was
Senator
when?
Morse. You mentioned that it was on yesterday's packet.
Yes.
It was actually on the day before.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yesterday morning. It was a long day.
Senator- I'm sorry, what?
It was in the morning. It was just a very long day.
Oh, it was a long day. Okay, my mistake.
It's all one day.
Yes, thank you. Still continues. Senator Morse.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote against this, and I'm willing to bet Senator D'Alessandro's listening. Just in one vote yesterday, the Senate directly sent back to property owners $100 million. So I think we heard the people, and I honestly believe once the whole budget's played out here, there's a lot more than that going back to property owners in the state of New Hampshire. But just in one vote yesterday, we accomplished what Senator D'Alessandro was trying to accomplish, times 2.5.
Thank you. Further discussion. Seeing none, we will call roll. The motion before us is the adoption of Amendment 1332S. Senator Morse,
No.
Senator Hennessy,
No.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
Senator Geider,
No,
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes,
And the chair votes no, and motion fails 2-4. Senator Rosenwald.
thank you. I'd like to move item number amendment 1543S. It's on the same packet, but it's on the back page, second from the bottom.
Second.
Josh, you putting that up?
Sure, we'll pull up that amendment, 1543S, which is relative to establishing the micro enterprise relief fund, which would be a dedicated fund for any additional federal COVID dollars that is available for that purpose.
Okay, Senator, the amendment is moved by Senator Rosenwald, seconded by Senator Susie. Any discussion? Senator Rosenwald.
Thank you. These are two provisions from Senate Bill 132, both funded at a nominal level with federal relief funds. The Senate voted twice positively on these provisions. And we yesterday, Senator Morse said he thought it could go through fiscal, but there are no guarantees there. So I'd like to put these two funds for micro enterprises and small performance venues in the budget with the nominal appropriations of $1, so that we indicate that these are a priority for the Senate.
Further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before us is the adoption of Amendment 1543S. We'll call roll. Senator Morse.
I think we need to recess for 1 minute because I just
Okay.
want to make sure I know what I'm doing.
Committee will be in recess.
She is just getting her coffee out of the Keurig machine.
Committee will come back to order. Chair recognizes Senator Morse.
Mr. Chairman, I thought this fund was established already we all voted to support this already, but I guess I was wrong. So I would support this amendment.
Any further discussion, Senator Geider?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My understanding is this is only federal funds. It will not expand into general fund requests.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call roll. Senator Morse?
Yes.
Senator Hennessy?
Yes.
Senator Susie?
Yes.
Senator Geider?
Yes.
Senator Rosenwald?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, and the
Thank
motion carries. Is there anything else to be brought before us? Senator Susie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also in the packet, the third item from the end relative to emergency powers, which is Amendment 2021-1754S. And I would move that item.
Senator Susie moves Amendment 1754S. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Rosenwald. Discussion?
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Senator Susie?
this amendment is drafted, takes a significant amount of the work that was done in the amendment drafted by Senator Bradley, which we will consider on House Bill 417. There are two changes from the amendment as he proposed them. One is that I eliminated section 3 of his amendment because it was merely the provision of a report, and I don't think it truly increased transparency. The other change you will note is the new section 3, which begins on line 29 of the amendment. Right now, we have a difference of terms that are used in the statute. RSA 913D uses the term civil emergency, but uses it in the same way as state of emergency. This amendment would clarify that it is a state of emergency, once again, that we are referring to, and then impose a limit of $100,000, and items in excess would have to be presented to the fiscal committee. So I would ask my colleagues to consider the amendment and hopefully support it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Morse?
Mr. Chairman, I'll be voting no on this. I think it won't be the last time we vote on this. I have a feeling it's going to come up today on the floor on 417. I think that's where the Senate should address this issue, is on that bill. And
Not
so
on the
I'll be
budget.
Right.
Recess.
We will be in recess. Committee will come back to order. We're on Amendment 1754S. Open for discussion. Seeing none, we'll call roll. Motion is ought to pass. Senator Morse. Senator Hennessy.
No.
Senator Susie.
Yes.
Senator Geider.
No,
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
And the chair votes no. Motion carries, fails 2-4. Is there anything further to be brought before us? Seeing none, I move that the Office of Legislative Budget Assistant be authorized to make technical and administrative corrections which are necessary to reflect the intent of the committee. Is there a second? Second by Senator Morse. Any discussion? There being none, we'll call roll. Senator Morse. Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator Susie.
Yes.
Senator Geider.
yes,
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. The motion carries 6-0. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by
Second.
Senator Hennessy, and that was seconded by Senator Geider. Senator Morse.
Yes.
Senator Hennessy.
Yes.
Senator Susie.
Yes.
Senator Geider.
yes.
Senator Rosenwald.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. And I do want to thank the committee for all their diligence over the past few weeks in getting this all together. Thank you.
Mr.
We are
Chairman,
adjourned.
when's our next meeting?
1 PM today. We will give, excuse me, tomorrow. We'll be getting back together, 1 o'clock tomorrow.
So your assistant didn't prevail with 2 PM?
Sorry.
Okay. Thanks.
Well, we could recess.
We could recess.